Hello. Pull. Oh. Ooh. Yeah.
Good morning everyone. Today, we will tackle chapter 6 of leadership, which is about leadership attributes. For the outline of this chapter, introduction, personality traits and leadership, an alternative to traits, personality types, emotional intelligence and leadership, intelligence and leadership. Then, moving forward, leadership attribute states that every words that we say and actions that we do will be the cause of our destiny. Personality has two meanings. First, public reputation or the impression a person makes on others. Second, identity or how people see or define themselves. Relationship between personality and leadership success and effectiveness is based on the trait approach. Meanwhile, traits are recurring regularities or trends in a person's behavior or things that we can commonly observe to the actions of a person. Trait approach simply means that people behave based on the strengths of the traits that they possess. Personality trait is important because it is useful for explaining why people act consistently in different situations. Knowing its differences can help predict more accurately how people will tend to act in different situations. Traits play an important role in determining how people behave in unfamiliar, ambiguous, or weak situations. So what is the characteristic of strong situations? Strong situations are governed by specified rules, demands, or organizational policies which can minimize the effects of traits on behavior. The strength of the relationship between personality traits and leadership effectiveness is inversely related to the situations. And personality traits are more closely related to leadership effectiveness in weak or ambiguous situations.
Now let's talk about the 5-factor or ocean model of personality. Based on research, most of the trait-like terms that people use to describe others' behavioral patterns can be categorized into 5 broad personality dimensions. The first factor that we will talk about is the openness to experience, concerned with curiosity, innovative thinking, assimilating new information, and being open to new experiences. The persons who are part of this factor is the one who loves to travel to foreign countries or they enjoy going to school. The next factor is the conscientiousness. It is concerned with those behaviors related to people's approach to work. It may be concerned more with management than with leadership, as people with higher scores are planful, organized, goal-oriented, and prefer structure. The persons who are involved in this factor is the one who enjoys putting together detailed plans or they rarely get into trouble. The next factor is the extraversion. It involves behaviors more likely to be exhibited in group setting and are generally concerned with getting ahead in life. Generally, people who are more decisive, self-confident, and outgoing seem to be more effective leaders, and thus, extraversion is an important measure of leadership potential. Now, the persons who are involved in this factor is the one who likes to have responsibility for others or they have a large group of friends. The fourth factor is the agreeableness. It concerned with how one gets along with as opposed to gets ahead of others. Individuals high in agreeableness come across to others as charming, diplomatic, warm, empathetic, approachable, and optimistic. However, take note, they can struggle with getting results through others. Now, the persons involved in this factor is that they are a sympathetic person or they get along with others. And last but not the least, neuroticism. Concerned with how people react to stress, change, failure, or personal criticism. The differences in neuroticism can be difficult to observe in predictable, routine situations but become evident during times of uncertainty or crisis. Now, the persons involved in this factor are the ones who remain calm in pressure situations and they take personal criticisms well. Now, let's talk about the implications of the 5-factor or ocean model. Personality traits help explain leaders' and followers' tendencies to act in consistent ways over time. Behavioral manifestations of personality traits are often exhibited automatically and unconsciously. Behaviors can be modified through experience, feedback, and reflection. The ocean model is used in the following ways. It helps leadership researchers categorize findings of the personality and leadership performance research. It also helps in profiling leaders, and it seems to be universally applicable across cultures. Now let's talk about the theoretical framework called the building blocks of skills. It shows the skills which are most difficult to change and the skills which are easier to change. Now let's talk about the part of the skills where it is most difficult to change. These skills are intelligence, personality traits, and values, interests, motives, or goals. Now let's talk about the skills which are easier to change. The first easiest skill to change is its skills and competencies, following by knowledge and experience. An alternative framework to describe the differences in people's day-to-day behavioral patterns is through types or in terms of a personality typology. Types are thought of as a relative discrete categories.
Myers-Briggs type, or MBTI, is most popular measure of preferences. There are 4 basic preference dimensions in which people can differ. First, we have extroversion versus introversion and sensing versus intuition. Then we have thinking versus feeling and judging versus perceiving. The results for each of the 4 bipolar dimensions are used to create 16 psychological types. So here is the list of the 16 psychological types. Preference advocates believe that individuals within any particular type are more similar to each other than they are to individuals in any of the other 15 types. Now, let us move on to the limitations of MBTI. First, we have the 4 preference dimensions omit critical aspects of personality such as neuroticism. Second, types are not stable over time. Third, for effect, people are provided with descriptive statements that are personally flattering but so vague that they could apply to virtually anyone. And lastly, MBTI dimensions and types are unrelated to career success or leadership effectiveness. Now let us move on to emotional intelligence. Term is attributed to Peter Salovey and John Mayer. So there are 2 models. We have the ability model and the mixed model. So the ability model focuses on how emotions affect the way leaders think, decide, plan, and act, while in mixed models, it provides a broader and more comprehensive definition of emotional intelligence than the ability model because it includes more leadership qualities. So, ability model defines emotional intelligence as the ability to accurately perceive one's own and others' emotions, generate emotions to facilitate thought and action, accurately understand the causes of emotions and the meaning they convey, and lastly, regulate one's emotions. So mixed model is more popular among human resource professionals than the ability model, but is no more predictive of job performance than ocean assessments. Here is a clear overview and table of the difference between the two models.
Now, we are tackling about measuring emotional intelligence and implication of emotional intelligence. The first one is measuring emotional intelligence, Mayer Salovey Caruso Emotional Intelligence Test. It assesses ability-based EI through picture and recognition, social situations, and more. The second one is Bar on Emotional Intelligence Quotient, or EQI, offers self self-other use and organizational assessment. Meanwhile, Goal Emotional Competence Inventory, or ECI, uses 10 individual and 9 observer questionnaires. So the next one is implication of emotional intelligence. The first one is misaligned thoughts. Feelings and actions lead to ineffectiveness. The second one is non-cognitive abilities, or EI, contribute to leadership and success. The third one is emotions are valued in the workplace. Fourth one is EI helps employees to cope with job insecurities and stress. So there are two models of EQ. The first one is Ocean model and the second one is Goldman model. So Ocean model focuses on personality traits. Yung components nito ay openness, extraversion, agreeableness, and neuroticism. Yung scope is broader personality aspects. Meanwhile, Goldman's model focuses on emotional intelligence. Yung components niya is self-awareness, self-regulation, motivation, and empathy, social skills. Tapos yung scope niya is specific IQ skills. I want to take note on when to use the two models. Goldman's model developing EQ, like leadership, social skills. Meanwhile, Ocean model understanding personality traits and individual differences. So there are 5 components of EI or EQ. The first one is self-awareness, self-regulation, motivation, empathy, and social skills. So how do I develop it? The first one is practice self-awareness, engage in feedback or coaching, develop communication skills, learn stress management, and cultivate empathy. So what are the benefits of it? So improve relationships, enhance decision making, increase productivity, better conflict resolution, and improve mental health. So how do I assess it? The first one is self-assessment tools, 360-degree feedback. The third one is behavioral observation. So how do I improve it? By training programs, coaching or mentoring, feedback or self-reflection, and last but not the least is practice reinforcement.
Figure 6.4, the building blocks of skills. So this one will be tackled by Mr. Christian Tabas. So let's head on to the triarchic theory of intelligence. So this focuses on what a leader does when solving complex mental problems. So the first one is analytic intelligence. This is the classic problem-solving ability. Think of it as the logical step-by-step approach to finding solutions. The second one is practical intelligence. This is the street smarts, or what we call street smart intelligence. It involves adapting to and shaping situations to achieve one goals effectively. And the third one is creative intelligence. This is the ability to come up with novel and useful ideas or solutions, but it's measured through tests that examine two kinds of thinking, which is divergent thinking and convergent thinking. Divergent thinking, this is where you'll generate multiple possible answers to a problem, or what we call thinking outside the box. And convergent thinking is where you'll come up with the one best solution to solve a problem. So let's now move on to the implications of the triarchic theory of intelligence. So leadership effectiveness or emergence is positively correlated with analytic intelligence. Sometimes, personality is much more predictive of leadership emergence and effectiveness than analytic intelligence. Second one, in certain cases, analytic intelligence may have curvilinear relationship with leadership effectiveness. And the third one is leadership. Leaders' primary role is to build an environment where others can be creative. To improve the group and organizational factors affecting creativity, leaders should be mindful that first one is various sorts of incentives or rewards can have various effects on creativity. The second one is creativity can be hindered if people believe their ideas will be evaluated. And the last one is in order to develop new products and services, the level of turnover should be minimized in their teams and clear goals are given. So moving on to creativity killers, or how to squelch the creativity of direct reports.
There are ways in which leaders can stifle the creativity of their followers. The following ways are hire clones, take away all discretion and autonomy, create fragmented work schedules, provide insufficient resources, focus on short-term goals, create tight timelines and rigid processes, discourage collaboration and coordination, and keep people happy. The Intelligence and Stress Cognitive Resources Theory, also known as CRT, provides a conceptual scheme for explaining how leader behavior changes under stress levels to impact group performance. Key concepts of CRT are intelligence, experience, stress, and group performance. For the predictions, greater experience but lower intelligence may account for higher performing groups in high-stress conditions. Leaders with high levels of experience may misapply old situations when situations require creative solutions.
To further provide information about the building blocks of skills, which was shown earlier, skills and competencies are easier to change. The skills and competencies that can be easily changed are knowledge and experience. So the skills and competencies that are easier to change than personality traits, and inherent characters because they can be intentionally developed and improved through training, education, and practices. Examples of skills and competencies that can be modified includes knowledge and experience, problem solving, decision making, and communication. Personality traits are more difficult to change than the personality traits that can be difficult to change are intelligence and values, interests, and motives or goals. So, personality traits are more difficult to change because certain aspects of individuals' personality, such as intelligence, value, interest, and goals, are relatively stable and resistant to modification. Values, interests, and goals may be influenced by external factors, but they are also shaped by an individual's uniqueness and experiences and identity, making it. Moving on to emotional intelligence and the building blocks of skills. The building blocks of skills begin with skills and competencies. They are further divided into knowledge and experience. Knowledge includes intelligence. Intelligence consists of three types: analytical, practical, and creative. Emotional intelligence and personality traits are interrelated values. Interests and motives are goals, and the last part of the blocks of skills are required. So the building blocks of skills can be broken down in four ways. First is knowledge. This includes intelligence, which consists of three types: analytical, practical, and creative intelligence. Second is skills and competencies. This includes knowledge as well as experience and practical skills. So for our third is the values. Values, interests, and motives are goals. Lastly, the personality traits. This includes emotional intelligence, which is interrelated with, personality traits. There are two levels of ease of change: easy and more difficult. The competencies, skills, or behaviors are knowledge and experience. Knowledge and experience are easier to change. Practical intelligence as a skill falls under both knowledge and experience. Intelligence and personality traits and emotional intelligence and values, interests, and motives or goals are more difficult to change, and there are three types of intelligence: the analytic intelligence, practical intelligence, and creative intelligence.